Peace. What's up, y'all? Phil James. It is Wednesday, October 11th at 1:48 in the morning. So, I saw this story yesterday. Kind of wanted to make a video on it, but I didn't get around to doing it, so I apologize. But here it is now. So, as you can see here with the title, Black Death is spreading fast in Madagascar. What's the risk to Africa? Well, little background. Black Plague, or the bubonic plague, the one, like it says down here, the dreadful Black Death plague that killed 200 million plus in the medieval time across Eurasia is back. The plague has hit... What the hell? The plague has hit Madagascar every year in remote villages, infecting up to 400 per year and killing 40 people in 2014. Most common form is the bubonic plague that is transferred from rodents to fleas to humans. It is not transferred from human to human. Only 2% of fatalities over the past years of outbreak can be contributed to the most severe strain, pneumonic plague. This year is different. Madagascar is currently experiencing a much earlier outbreak of the plague, and between 60 and 70% of infectious are from the most aggressive pneumonic plague. Now, this is the one that is literally transmitted through the air. So this one's much easier to transfer and much easier to get. Now, there is one thing I want to say about this. Right there at the top, News 24. I don't know this source whatsoever. A lot of stories are coming out from the WHO, the World Health Organization, and, a lot of people are talking about it. So, what I want to say, though, is we all know how the American media likes to do things. They like to keep everybody distracted and scared and in fear to not see what's really going on in the background. I say it all the time, it's the sleight of hand. They have us looking here, but really the main event's over here. So we have to remember we have the wildfires going on in Northern California. We also have Ophelia, that new hurricane coming, and this is right after the so-called Hurricane Nate, which, by the way, I did make a video about, and I mentioned how weird looking it was in that video. I don't think my point came across clear. I don't think it was a hurricane, because I made a video the other day, but I ended up getting a phone call, and it canceled the whole video. Closed it out, so it didn't work. But in the video I made just yesterday or 2 days ago, I was talking and clearing that fact up, that I did not think Nate was an actual hurricane. I think it was very similar to what happened in Cali a month ago, and everybody called it a rain bomb. It was flash floods and flash winds and crazy weather, just all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Just out of the blue, nobody saw it coming, and you see people running back and forth on the beach freaking out. I think it was more or less like that, because the only damages I saw in any video was of that Gold Nugget casino and hotel, and that was about it. They showed one pier also, and the pier was right beside a bridge. That bridge is in every shot. There's one boat right beside the bridge, so out of it, it was out of probably 25-30 minutes of footage, all separate footage. I was only able to find the same little video clips back to back to back. So I really don't think it was a hurricane, because hurricanes are the largest storms on the earth. But back to the story at hand. Like I said, sleight of hand. They like to keep everybody distracted with these events, keep everybody living in fear, while the real events and real things that are, very big to life on Earth are happening in the shadows. So this is airborne and transferred from human to human by sneeze, cough, etc. What makes this outbreak even more severe is it is affecting all major cities and port cities, drastically increasing the chances of national outbreak. The WHO has put out a statement that the chance of national spread is high, regional moderate, and international low. They have also distributed millions of antibiotics to treat the symptoms and reduce fatality rate. There is no preventative cure available for pneumonic plague. Did you guys see that little typo there? There is no preventative cure available for pneumonic plague available. But yet, the WHO decided to keep borders open and no restriction on air and sea travel. Now, doesn't that sound a little odd, considering they just talked about the bubonic plague, the Black Death? This is a very close relative, geniusly, you know what I'm saying? Very close, So, they don't think that if this is a major crazy threat, that they should probably put some sort of ban on air and sea travel. I mean, because if you don't ban or slow it down, the international chance goes from low to moderate or too high even. So, very weird. But whatever, like I said, they like to keep everybody living in fear, so that's why they throw that right there at the bottom. Apparently, this pneumonic plague, this is the most aggressive one, like I said from this article. It's also the one that's spread through the air, and not to mention those things, but this is the one that when you get it, it can kill you in 24 hours. Like, it can be fatal, literally, in 24 hours. So it's, it's pretty hardcore disease, sickness, infection, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty hardcore. Risk to South Africa and the rest of Africa. Knowing that there is no prevention for the pneumonic plague, one would think that more serious steps would be taken before this becomes a regional crisis. Infections are reported in port cities, and it is reported a South African basketball official also contracted the plague in Madagascar, yet no warning signs for South Africa. The death toll has risen from 24 on Thursday, Friday to 42. Now, there's one way. The mirroring, just like Oprah and Harpo Studios. Oprah, spelled Oprah. Harpo is Oprah backwards. Okay, and that's the studio she works out of. They like to do those little mirroring, mismatched things. The little Satanism mirroring. That's why, what is it? What do they call it? Pig Latin or whatever, where it's backwards. It's mirroring. Mirroring's a very big thing. It's very common when you have an evil, elitist group of scumbags that run everything and like to keep everybody in fear. So keep an eye on the numbers, because that's where it'll get you every time. Show it immediately, who's behind it, what's going on with it. But like I said, the death toll has risen from 24 on Thursday/Friday to 42 on Sunday, the 8th of October, 2017, clearly showing no sign it is under control. Yet people fly and ferry in and out of Madagascar to Reunion, and I'm not going to try that every day. Not going to try that guy's name either, or that place, because I'm not good with African names or areas. Okay, so only whatever that place is has stopped flights to and from Madagascar, with a disease that killed half the world's population in the past and can kill between 18 and 24 hours from the onset. We should not be complacent. I would strongly urge a response to this crisis by stopping flights and trade to the region. Travel to the region should also be suspended until it's proven to be under control. Pneumonic plague is nothing like Ebola. That is not airborne and only spread through direct contact. The 20th century world has seen nothing like this before, yet we panicked over Ebola. So, there's very valid points. If this actually is a real thing and it's really actually happening, there's no way for us to know. Unless you're going to Africa tomorrow and you see the shit there, or you see the people freaking out there, There's no way of us knowing. They can tell us anything. I mean, Richie from Boston says it all the time. There's a few places on this earth we can't go to, but they will feed us all kinds of bullshit from these places, like North Korea. Go to North Korea. You know what I mean? Go to North Korea. It might be nothing like what we are told. There might, that little Kim over there might not even be a real North Korean. He might be from South Korea and an actor for all we know. Who's to say? You know what I mean? We don't know shit. We have news. We have mainstream news that floods and controls public opinion by literally bombarding it into your face in the 6 a.m. news, and then all day when you read something on your phone, and then in the evening, just like that whole Vegas shooting. Now they're talking about some break-in at dude's house, and God knows whatever else, and his girlfriend, and then the one mysterious lady that showed up and predicted the whole thing an hour before the shots started going off. You know what I mean? They keep everybody on this wild goose chase, this scavenger hunt, to know what's real and what's not. So who the hell knows, really? I mean, it's hard to tell. But so we'll carry on. The WHO has announced the distribution of 1-2 million dosages of antibiotics to treat the symptoms and reduce fatalities. This is brilliant, but is somehow portrayed as the preventative cure by the media. Antibiotics are only effective at the earliest onset stage of pneumatic plague, but is in no means a cure to prevent further spread. I truly hope this is taken into consideration by South African authorities. None of us would like to see this in South Africa with our vast land area, populated cities, and remote villages. Well, I'm going to say that nobody would want to see this anywhere in the world. You know what I mean? So, pneumonic plague is no joke. So if this is actually happening, which, like I said, it's hard to tell if it is or not, really. We'll never know. Unless it comes here and you are directly affected by it, we will never know. But it's just very crazy that, you know what I mean, this story comes out. Like, all the panics over all the sicknesses, and yet we never hear anything. Although I will say with SARS, my grandmother died of something very similar. But that was years ago. We're talking, like 2001, 2002 or something? Actually, let me go ahead and look it up just to be sure, because I want to make sure. All right. See, my grandmother died of something very, very similar to this. They called it, the doctors in the hospital called it something else, but it was still the exact same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, one time when I was a kid, they told me I had mono, but it wasn't mono. It was something very similar. A bug that was just very similar. Okay, so, I was going to look all this up real hardcore. But, yeah. I'm not really going to go too far into the SARS thing, so whatever. But, my point is, this is just very strange that this came out. Black Death, pneumonic, bubonic plague, happens all the time in South Africa, like once every year. 400 people affected, around 40 die, whatever. It's terrible, you know what I mean? It is. But that's only if it's true. And now they're sitting there saying how it's so much more of a threat this year because it's the pneumonic plague, the most aggressive, and is able to be transferred through the air, human to human, not from rodents. And nothing's being closed down, no ports, no air travel, no boats, ferries, nothing. They're just going to let everybody continue to trade and move and drive and fly and do whatever they want because it's not that big of a deal yet because we have antibiotics for it. So, kind of weird. Just wanted to throw it out there real quick. Like I said, I don't think any of what we have been told about these so-called hurricanes and wildfires are what they're saying. None of it. I don't think any of what we are being told is true. At this current point in time, our present, everything is twisted, and everything is looking very, very prophetic. So, I just wanted to throw this out there. Seas are roaring and seas are failing. Luke 21:25. Nations are confused and in anguish with perplexity. It's here. It's happening, guys. Use these, your eyes. Use them because you don't have to use them very hard. But alright, y'all. Peace.